did this one right. No wonder the numbers are so much bigger on the other one. As we went back here, this is where I was talking about. We have more ending stocks, huge ending stocks to use ratio, and yet we're averaging about 370 corn. By the way, for those, I was a pretty big proponent, and I'm still a big proponent that a lot of farms should have been an acre. This with 148 bushel state yields, probably say an acre, will not have a corn payoff this year. This would have to get down closer to 350, which could happen, but not particularly likely. So if I use a trend yield with these extra acres, I end up with another record crop. Just barely. The lower yields are offset by the acres, but we bring more beginning stock in. We have almost 15 billion bushels. With that bigger crop, I think we'll still feed a lot, but notice I have 400 million more bushels for ethanol, which gives us another 125 million bushels of feedstock out of ethanol byproducts. Of course, some of that's a soybean replacement. We add those up, we have record there. I'm putting exports about the same as a year ago or this year. I think these are fairly conservative numbers, unless this export might be a touch high, but I think this feed use may be a touch low. So even with that 3 million, because of this increase of 4 million here, I expect ending stocks to go down. With ending stocks to go down, I expect prices to stay in the same range or go up a little bit. So now, this does say that the world economy I built in here is actually starting to grow a little bit in this 2010-2011 year. Okay, so I do have that built in there that the rest of the world's going to start redoing their livestock industries a little bit, that our livestock industry will have stopped going down and maybe even started increasing a little bit sometime in that 2010 year, but remember, it doesn't even start till this next September. So in these use numbers, I've definitely built in some increasing, not a sharp turnaround in the economy, but an increasing one. Here's the exports. That's a shorter time period. How does that match up, that 390? If we go out to December and you take a 40-cent basis, it's about the same. If we carry corn in, the 390s might be a little bit lower depending on what the basis is than the market's projecting right now. And of course, this market is down sharply in the last 4 days from where it was. We had some pretty good pricing opportunities over the last over this fall period for December 210 crop. Of course, I know most of you priced your 210 crop right here, and I know some people did a little bit there. A student of mine was in that farms a county and a half south of me, and they had 100 bushels an acre priced right here. They averaged 170 this year, to put it in perspective. We have dropped off. I'm not sure this is a good pricing opportunity here, but I might, if you hadn't priced any of it, if it gets back towards those previous highs again, about it racing like crazy, then I think I would price some bushels. I think they'll put a little bit of the top on the market unless we start having a really bad crop. Of course, if you have some. Now, the risk around that, of course, for me to be 80% confident, price will be somewhere between $3 and $6. We had 129 bushels an acre in this country just 7 years ago, so we can't. We got to be a little bit careful. Looking at Michigan here, Jody put up these 3 yields. She said this was a record production, and it was. It just really shocked me. The worst yield we'd had in years. But when you plant and harvest 2.3 billion acres compared to anything we've done before or since, that's how we got to this record here. Of course, the next year we did it again with decent ones and a pretty good yield. Still not as good '05 and '06. Then we came into this year with just a few less acres, and then this record yield that takes us where we are. On September 1, we had a lot of corn left over. The stock use, I have less confidence in these numbers in here, but this is an actual number. With this huge corn crop, basically where I came up with this number is I thought we might struggle as much as we had our previous high year. There's a lot of corn out there. So in Michigan, we have plenty of corn. The one difference between this year here and that, and why hopefully I'm wrong on this number and we can get it down under 40, is, you know, we didn't have the ethanol production going in the state 4 years ago that we have now, and as long as they keep getting money, they can eat up corn pretty quick. Most of them can operate at 3 to 4% above boilerplate, so there's ability to do higher. If we look at wheat, we'll go through it pretty quick. We look at this long run. It looks like I put the bottom of the chart on this one. The wheat numbers were already given out in the small grains thing. We didn't have quite a record wheat yield, but we had our second largest. Michigan, by the way, had 69 bushels an acre. We've had in the 70s before, but that's considered a pretty good, probably about our trend yield. A lot of huge beginning stocks coming into this 2009 year. Of course, remember this year starts on May 1, unlike the September 1 we've been talking about. Huge crop here as we look at this, and we'll hit back to this chart here in a little bit. There wasn't very many changes other than feed and residual, but that's not a real big number. This means going from 190 to 170. The number, we fed a little bit. All wheat stocks were above a year ago. There's two things. One, we have a bigger crop, and two, we're using it even slower. If we look at compared to expectations, the market knew this is going in. All wheat stocks, as we look at this, this is, for example, this is the amount of wheat we start out with on, at the beginning of the marketing year. This is December 1. This is September 1 number. So basically, we can tell how much wheat we used between September 1 and December 1, and that gives us a good idea what our use numbers are. World wheat production. This was a record. As you see, they increased this slightly. Record wheat crop just barely under that. This year, of course, we go back 2 years, we had the two horrible world wheat crops, and it's just amazing how fast we can come back. Our wheat production's down this year. The rest of the world is up a little bit. And some of that's Australia, and this is a forecast. The reason Argentina's wheat forecast is down, though, is they planted a lot less. It isn't that they're having a bad yield. They just planted a heck of a lot less of it. Wheat exports are not going very well to date, and we're over halfway through the year right now. We're seven months in or so at that point here. It doesn't look much better when we look at forward sales. We're still at just on 600 versus 800. We're only at 3/4 of it. And that's one reason why you look at this export. They lowered this export number another about 35 million bushels. It just doesn't look like we're going out.